Hey, welcome back to my channel. My name's Carter. I love talking about movies, horror movies, superheroes, and comic books. And on Saturday, I did a double feature of The Watchers and In a Violent Nature. I just uploaded my Watchers review recently, along with Bad Boys Ride or Die. Feel free to go check those out. But today, I really wanted to sit down and talk about In a Violent Nature. This is a movie that I heard about from the Sundance Film Festival, which is somewhere local around me, so I was really excited. Tried to go see it, couldn't quite get into it, but I heard some interesting buzz coming out of film festivals about this movie, and I love slashers. I have a really soft spot for the Friday the 13th movies. I picked the right day to wear this shirt because I actually filmed this review on Saturday, sat down to edit the footage, and the footage just looked terrible. It sounded terrible, so I was like, well, I gotta reshoot it, and I was wearing this shirt, so who knew? In a Violent Nature is written and directed by Chris Nash. It stars Ry Barrett, and it's got cinematography by Pierce Dirks. And this is pretty much just an ode to Friday the 13th and the slashers of old, but it takes place from the killer's perspective. So, you have the stupid kids that come and do something dumb in a place where they shouldn't be, and it awakens a killer who then goes and hunts the teens down. And it all takes place from the perspective of the killer. So that's what really just drew me into this film. So have you seen In a Violent Nature? What did you think about it? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I know I'm late, but I'm really glad I watched it. And enjoy the video. And right off the bat with the positives, this is a beautiful, beautiful movie. The cinematography, again, by Pierce Dirks is incredible. It's just shot in such a way that feels so real, so down to earth. You can see bugs flying in front of the camera. You can see like twigs snapping. You can see just like branches swinging. And it just feels a lot more lived in and a lot more like just rustic, if that's the right word, than a lot of slashers I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of slashers, and it just feels so down to earth, so realistic, and so brutal, all because of that cinematography, that lighting, just the way the location scout absolutely killed it. I mentioned Sundance at the beginning of this video. It's actually a resort that the film festival started at. I've been to the resort a lot growing up, and just walking around, doing hikes around the resort, it literally looks and feels just like this movie without the killer coming to murder you, so that's kind of a plus, but it just looks and feels so phenomenal. Just the shots they get of the nature, whether it's the killer Johnny standing on a cliff as the sun sets, or if it's like fog rising up from a pond. There's so many shots in this film that just stick out to me and stick in my mind as just gorgeous, beautiful. The color grading is great. Everything as far as sound and image and video goes is just pitch perfect, and I honestly would love to see more slashers kind of adopt this. Correct me if I'm wrong, it also does the 4:3 aspect ratio just to kind of make it feel a little smaller, and I really enjoyed that. It was a little weird seeing it on the big screen in my theater and having a good chunk of the screen cut out and just be black, but I actually really enjoyed it, and it ended up working for me overall. My next big positive is going to be the effects and the kills in this film. Well, there is one kill that mostly felt more atmospheric or more of like a tone and ode to the old slashers rather than just kind of fitting in with the formula and the kind of the vibe of the rest of the kills, and that's just something that takes place at a pond. It felt muted, relatively muted. Apart from that, every kill in this movie was really, really good and very, very brutal. I loved seeing them unfold on screen. Almost every kill got like a gasp from my audience, from at least 4 or 5 people. There was actually quite a few people watching this with us, and it was really great to hear and just feel the reactions of people inside the film. They're just like, oh my gosh, like, wow, that's crazy. And it was so fun to just see and feel that electricity between everyone in the audience and just watch the chaos unfolding on screen. And so for that aspect, I loved it. A lot of people will be talking about the kills. A lot of people will be praising the kills, and they're absolutely correct. It's very imaginative, very brutal, very, very, very bloody, and the effects are great, but also the actors portraying it really sell it, and the director just makes sure that everything is in frame, and I loved everything about that. Another positive I have here is the editing and the sound design. Like I said, in the sound design, everything sounds great. This is like a little nitpick, but the killer, so much of the film is following the killer from a third-person perspective, and he just goes boom, 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 boom. So like 30 minutes into the movie, boom, boom, an hour, and I was like, I'm kind of sick of this noise. Again, tiny complaint, tiny nitpick. But that's just me, that's just how I felt. And like I said, the editing is also great. There's a lot of great cuts, a lot of great choices. Make sure that you can see everything. Make sure that the camera angle is set up, the cinematography. Again, I just have to circle back one more time. It was so good. I loved it. However, it was not perfect, and I really wanted to love this movie, and I walked out just liking it. Not loving it, not hating it. What I liked, I loved, and what I didn't like, I despised. So getting into the mixed, my only mixed is really just going to be the characters, because there's not any characters that I care about. There's not any characters that I was really rooting for. I didn't have strong feelings about any characters because you don't really get to know them. It's focusing on the killer. There are a few really interesting moments with the killer where he just looks at something for a little longer than you'd expect, or he sits down and plays with a toy or anything like that. I liked those moments, but they were very few and far between. And then the characters in this just felt like drawn out, overblown characters of people you see in Friday the 13th movies, or people you see in slashers, like the horny one, the stoner, the jock, the bully, the girlfriend, the final girl. It's just very characterized and in a way that will work for some people, and I understand what they're going for. I'm sure a lot of this is just kind of to poke fun and try and disassemble the slasher genre, and so I'm sure they were going for it, but it didn't work for me. It came off as very annoying at some parts, to where for some characters I was like, please just die already. For other characters I was like, yeah, I do not care in the slightest. I just want to see blood and guts, and I did, so that was cool. But going into the negatives here, the pacing is a big one that comes to mind. There are two big negatives I have here. First one, again, the pacing. It starts out strong, very interesting, and then once you kind of get into the gimmick, you understand where it's going. This is only like an hour 27, hour 24, I think. It honestly could have been like 70, 75 minutes long. It did not need to be like 85 minutes. There could have been a lot of scenes of just walking cut out. Kind of just to kind of skip ahead to get to more of that tension. Because when you see this movie, and when you see you're just following the killer the whole time, something is missing, and you don't know what it is until the very end when it switches perspectives. And that thing is tension. Because you know where the killer is at all times, it doesn't feel very tense. You're just watching events play out. You're just hoping that he'll kill them. There's no tension. There's no like, oh my gosh, he's behind her. Or like, where is he? Where is he? He's there. He's right in front of you. He's walking from point A to point B to point D, back to point C to point D to point A. And that's a lot of the film, to where kind of going into the second, third act, those act breaks felt very repetitive, where I was like, okay, come on, dude, like, I know there's good here, I know it's so good, like, get to it. And finally, my biggest negative is the ending. The ending of the film does a complete 180. However, it still sticks with that kind of disassembling of the slasher genre, and it tries to draw a very thinly veiled metaphor through a conversation from something to the killer. And as soon as that conversation started, I knew exactly where it was going. And the conversation maybe is like 5-8 minutes. It felt like 15 minutes long. Because the rest of the movie is just this one thing, and then it switches, and it's not interesting or engaging whatsoever. In fact, I would say it's very anticlimactic and very disappointing. And it switches quickly to a scene of tension. Like 15 seconds, 20 seconds, and then it ends. And that's the film. And I did not like it whatsoever. I felt like the last 10 minutes or however long that scene was, you'll know when it changes. When it changes and when something happens, immediately I felt the atmosphere of the film change. I felt the script change. You could almost feel the audience change. Like everyone was pulling back, and they almost got you reeled back in. Pull back, and they end the film. And it just left with a very sour taste in my mouth. I did not care for the metaphor that they were going for. I did not care for the conversation that it ended on. I did not care for the scene it ended on. Pretty much everything that it ended on, I detested. I was really liking this film. I could excuse the pacing. I could excuse the lack of tension because it's such an interesting experiment. And the ending came and just ruined it for me. So unfortunately, In a Violent Nature is a movie that could have scored very, very high with me, but is going to end up getting like a 6.5 out of 10, to where it's just mediocre. It's got that Mad Max Immortan Joe mediocre. There's flashes of greatness here. The kills are so cool. The atmosphere and the sound and the look of it is so, so cool. But the story, the conversations, the dialogue, the ending is just really not for me, and the pacing just kills it. Like I mentioned, it's an interesting experiment. If you're a fan of slashers or of horror, I would recommend you check this out. It's got great kills, it's a fun experiment, and I'm sure there's going to be an audience for this. Sadly, it was just not me. Anyways, guys, as always, keep an eye out for my reviews coming soon, and have a great rest of your day.